So just to say at the outset, we've got a thunderstorm going on here at the moment.
Ah.
Quarter of an hour ago, we had 2 power cuts.
Okay.
Trusting that we can actually do this session. And if my power does go, I'll send you an email. I'm charging my phone, so I could, if needed, swap to phone. But if I start getting power cuts, we may just have to abandon it. So
Sure.
I'm hoping that the electricity holds up. They're very quick to shut the power off if anything happens here.
Okay.
But it seems to have come back on and staying on.
I think it's moving our way tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're certainly ready for a thunderstorm.
Mm.
Oh, any questions? How are you doing?
With the last 2 sessions, I watched the recording. So last week, so I didn't manage to quite get to the end, but I did most of it earlier on. And yeah, it was interesting. And the week before, where there was more upper body, I think I'm realising that there's definitely more tone I need here.
There is more tone.
That I need more.
You need more tone.
Yeah.
Yes, me too. I always need more tone in this region.
Yeah, but it feels, it definitely feels quite sort of, when I get more tone, the tendency is definitely to feel more stiff and sort of held somehow, which doesn't feel quite right. But I also know that it's probably not true. It's just a faulty sensory something or other. I'm just becoming more familiar with that one, I think. And certainly when we were doing the arm, supporting on the arms and the side plank, I was getting very concerned with my elbows because I couldn't quite work out what to do with my elbows. You know, my tendency is to want to hyperextend.
Mm-hmm.
Or then they want to, so if I want to do, say, a push-up, my elbows want to go out rather than here, for example. And I've always had that, what to do with my elbows. And when I was following on the class, I was getting really involved in my elbows, and I can't quite work it out. And then I came back to sort of this area, and my elbows just sorted themselves out. You know, this is the supporting bit for the arm, of course.
That sounds, yeah. If in doubt, come back to primary. Yes. Yes.
So, we know it, but I just, it's there again, like, oh no. Back to the hole again.
I'd say I'm not an expert on where elbows should be. I'm looking at things around myself. I mean, we know that when the elbow it's a question I'm asking. I've actually got a slight elbow strain here at the moment, which I think I got in the autumn when I did too much monkey bars, and it's not quite gone away. So there's a weakness there. I'm left-handed. There's more strain in this arm. So elbows is a big concern of mine as well. I've always had weak elbows. I've always had weak wrists, and they need more tone. And then it's going in too fast and overdoing it.
Yeah.
It's very much my weak area. So yeah, it's keep feeding back about elbows.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that the deep front, the deep back arm line works better when it's that way. And then there is something rather magic that happens. And we are going to explore push-ups today to see if we can do the tricep. I'm going to have to watch this elbow, but my practice yesterday, I was managing to do it. I've chosen the ones that didn't aggravate my elbow, funnily enough. And it was possible to do without aggravating the elbow. If one could get the tone across the back and keep the elbow in and get the tricep working. So, keep telling me what you're noticing as well. And this one of turn the elbow out, turn the elbow in. But as you say, you don't want to go to a point where it's actually hyperextending.
Mm-hmm.
My elbow doesn't do. My daughter's hyperflexible, her elbow with them.
Yeah. I don't think mine does as much
sound's difficult again.
Quite flexible. I'm certainly fairly flexible in my shoulders and elbows and hands as well. So I think there's probably a lot more tone that can be had through here.
Yeah. Do you have very strong legs?
Strong legs, I would say.
Strong legs, yeah.
I think. Although I was amazed actually with the horse riders position that you did last week. I was very impressed with Hannes and Mari for holding that for so long, because I couldn't I couldn't hold it for that long.
Okay. So that's as much about the connection to the lower back, isn't it?
Yes.
Legs. So yeah, we'll work on there.
Yeah.
But I ask there is because Goldie used to comment to me that my legs were overworking at the expense of my back.
Yeah.
And then of course the back is going to need I've just never been strong at this end of me. I'm stronger at the lower end of me.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Whereas my sister is 2 years younger than me, and she was the one who carried me around on her shoulders as when we were children. I assume she was the older one because she was broader. And yeah, I'm more of a runner than a couldn't throw for toffee. But every time they engage, I'm amazed at how much strength is there. This is what intrigues me. And it's like I'm sure they can build up more. Takes it gently. So
yeah.
And the stiffness thing, I tend to feel like one of those Olympic athletes coming on when I own my shoulders.
Yeah.
Can't possibly go down the high street like this. Why not? It's very interesting, isn't it, when we take more tone and we feel like somebody else?
Yes. Yeah.
I think it is pure self-expression.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But it's also quite nice that I was kind of finding a bit more tone when I was doing some sort of general exercises the other day, and it's like, oh yeah, I kind of feel like I can see other people look when they're really sporty, and oh right, that's how they look. Oh, okay, right, yeah, I look like them.
I'm working with a builder again at the moment. Have you ever worked with a builder?
With the builder? No, I don't think I have.
I mean, they said they don't come forward in London, I don't think, but I've worked with quite a few builders at this point, and they are always very strong-bodied, and they're upright. They're almost, you can hardly fault their posture for starters, because they're lifting heavy loads all the time, and they have to do it well or they don't survive, and they just have this beautiful, strong physique. It's like a builder.
Yeah, I guess it's the constant work.
Constant work, and they always have these lovely, strong physiques because they're always using that upper body arm strength. I think they have to from the backs and from the legs, or they wouldn't survive it. So we want to look like builders. Beautiful builders. That's in the olden days, we would be lifting, washing out of tubs and cooking pots, as well as multiple children. And a lot more upper body arm strength than we do now. They're doing the odd plate in a dishwasher. Oh gosh, that's a heavy plate. Big deal.
Yeah.
I think it's a symptom of how weak we are when we know a heavy plate. There's cast iron pots on the barbecue at the back that some ancestor here must have had. They're massive. Couldn't begin. Yeah. Okie doke. So, hey.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry to come in late.
Oh, I'm glad you're here. Three of us. The last of our stalwart Berliners, Hannes, is now on holiday as well. So, and I was saying to Claire, we've got a thunderstorm going on here. 20 minutes ago, I had 2 power cuts. So So if my power does go, either I'll be able to keep going on my phone, or I'll just have to send an email saying, abandon it. We'll see how we go. But
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
it will rumble off. I think it's getting less. Yeah, Claire was commenting about the work with the shoulders the last few times, and maybe sort of confusing tone with stiffness like one does. And have I talked about degrees of freedom?
Don't think so.
I mean, this is a Bernstein concept. Bernstein was the father of biomechanics, because he said, 800 muscles, 206 bones. How on earth does the brain coordinate that lot? Because if it all had to be coordinated with nerves going in all the time, it would just take far too big a computer. He said there must be ways of reducing it. And so he realized that one way is that joints only move in one direction, or in prescribed directions. Your elbow can't move backwards or sideways. And that at least limits the amount of control that's needed. And then you have kinetic chains that all work together and. But the minute you use instability in a joint, like, you go to throw and you sort of, it's all over the place, or the elbow's not just going in the right direction, but it's going in the wrong direction, or your knees are doing that as you sit down. That's actually then requiring far more nervous system control. You see what I'm saying? So the more stable the joints, the more accurate the nervous system, the easier it is for the nervous system to coordinate it. And then you can get a really targeted response. And so the more we can stabilize the joints, the more coordinated we can get, because the simpler the muscle coordination required. And so everything can be background tone, and you can just have one or two muscles doing the big action, rather than all sorts of muscles needing to control it because it's wobbling all over the place. And that's what we're about. And of course, it might feel stiff, but when you watch top dancers or top sports people, that film of Ronaldo, that did you see that, Claire, on the Facebook group? It's a lovely. It's worth logging onto the Facebook group to see, him eyeing and then finally taking the header that wins the goal. And there are no unnecessary degrees of freedom going on in Ronaldo. It's totally, there's not a molecule of unnecessary movement, is there, Mary? It's just toned all the way through. And that to me is what we're after. And then the fluidity can come out of that because we're not flopping. So we'll play a game around that today as well. And just have a little explore. Yeah, because this keeps coming up for all of us because this feels stiff. Okay, let's begin. I thought we'd start with, I'm going to do a series of engagements, and we'll do archer between each one to test the stability of it, and then see what we notice. So let's start just with eyes as ever. Let the eyes lead. Say hello to your surroundings. Engaging with the present. Coming out of conversation mode and into sensory awareness mode. And I'm also aware of the sounds going on around me, the cat yowling, the thunder rolling. Letting them have their spatial distance as well. Being aware of distances. And the sense of the space behind us, above us, below us, to the sides of us, seeing from the back of the head. checking that the head really is following the eyes. The eyes are moving on to something, engaging with something, and the head does do its self-organization to follow. And coming into the awareness of breath. The breath flowing in and out of us. Being aware of our vestibular lines, up, down, front, back, side, side. The down and up of breathing. And also gravity in this, anti-gravity as one could call it. And the forwards of the sight and the back that comes from that. And the side of the side that's also auditory. And then letting the out breath be long. Letting the in breath find its own way in. Now gently can we let the in breath come in. And when the in-breath comes in, inviting it to come open the lower back and open down into the pelvic area. And the out-breath comes up and out through the eyes. So we've got that full span of consciousness. From the head through to the pelvis. The in-breath then going down through the hips, down into the legs, into the feet. And maybe even across the shoulders and down into the arms and into the fingertips. So that everything expands on the in-breath and everything comes in again ever so slightly on the out-breath. And then that little pause, just letting the in-breath find its own way in. Let's just take a little ah and a bounce with that. Ah, just awaken up that elasticity in the back. Careful not to let the arms flop, send the fingertips a little gently down so that the arms being aware of the difference that not flopping the arms makes, dynamism of the whole movement. So that again, what might feel like stiffness actually helps the dynamic tone of the whole system. So let's just, we found that grounding, let's just pick one foot up behind. Being aware now of the breath into the pelvic floor. Let the other arm come up. And then take the arms away from each other. iliacs back, and just see how stable we are. And coming back again. And again, just find that breath into the pelvic floor. And take the other leg up. And continuing to breathe into the pelvic floor. And let's bring the arm up. Breathe. I'll balance this side. And then see if you can just take the arms away from each other. Keeping breathing into the pelvic floor. And back again. Now let's add our stabilizers. Let's add screwing the ankle back and up. I pull the iliac spines back and up off the outside of the knee. I pull the ribs at the back of the armpit up away from the sacrum. I pull the top of the sternum forwards away from the sacrum. I pull the elbows down and out from the top of the sternum. I pull the thumbs down away from the sternum as well. And let's give that a 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then let's just bring that foot up again. And again. And still breathing into the pelvic floor. Taking the arms away from each other, the hands away from each other. And just notice the difference, if there's any difference from last time. And coming back again. Maybe let's give it one more. 3. 1, 2, 3. And bringing up the other leg. Again, breathing into the pelvic floor. And taking the arms away from each other. And coming back again. Now let's add that core stability that we added was it a couple of weeks ago, I think, where we're thinking about sucking a smoothie up through the vagina and or stopping the flow of pee for any men who are listening. And just let that engage. And then checking you can still breathe. My sense is that if the breath comes down and wide, then there can still be a flow of up. There can still be some sense of up the middle, but see what you're aware of. One doesn't have to let everything flop down. It can still be tone even on the down. So let's try our archer again with that. We've got the breath into the pelvic floor. And that engagement of the core. Again. Then engage the core. Bring the leg up. Again, there's still breath into the pelvic floor, but also engagement. Okay. Now, let's come to, we're going to add in another arm engagement. We're going to work quite a bit with arms today. So what I want you to do is to come to a wall and so that, give you a moment to find some wall. Okay. So you're going to stand facing the wall, and I'll do it with this arm first so you can see. My fingers are pointing, the first finger is pointing straight up and the thumb is out. And I'm going to think about my elbow coming outwards and forwards to the side. But at the same time, I'm going to take it away from the top of the sternum and away from the back of the armpit. So that the arm doesn't really bend. It's just that lengthening of the arm. Top of the sternum's coming forwards. Tip of the elbow is going away. And the rib at the back of the armpit is coming back. And the finger is going up. So it's quite a strong engagement of the arm. And you might feel quite a strong engagement of the chest with it, which almost makes one want to take an in-breath into the chest. When you've done that arm, do the other arm as well. So put that arm, just do the arms one at a time to start with. That's right, put the hands up against the wall. And then the elbow is going to go out to the side. The ribs at the back of the armpit is going to go away, and the top of the sternum is going to go up and forwards. And the fingers are going into the wall. And again, if you breathe in, it's actually breathing, it can be lengthening the front of the throat. Okay, so now do both together. And if you want to ask questions, do shout. Otherwise, I'll keep going. And so we're going to do both together. So the index fingers are pointing up, the thumbs are to the side, inwards, and the elbows are both going to be going out, away from the ribs at the back of the armpit coming back, and the top of the sternum going forwards. And when you found that, then send the elbows away, do a little mini press up onto the wall. So just get that full engagement first. And to come back up again, send the hands away. Don't strain in the arms, don't strain in the elbows, but just send the hands away into the wall, being aware that the arms will then take you back. And we're continuing to make this engagement of the arm as we do the press up. And if you get it right, there's a sense of the back working the body rather than the arms moving you backwards and forwards, the sense of the back of the body working the movement. That's right, and the body is a beautiful plank. Yeah, that looks lovely. And then, that's it, Mari. Yeah. And come back into the center. And let's just try the archer one more time. So continuing to think that elbow away from ribs at the back of the armpit, away from the sternum. And now to go into the archer, take your elbows away from each other, as well as your hands away from each other. And other leg. Again, just think that engagement of the elbows away from the ribs at the back of the armpit, away from the sternum, and take the elbows away from each other as well as the hands away from each other. And coming back. So, anyone like to comment so far?
So you just asked one direction, whereas my old sense is just that movement is in this plane, so I move in this plane only, whereas that gives it the widening too, so I get more of a three-dimensional movement.
For the press up or the archer?
The archer, after doing that, the elbows as well.
Good, nice. And did the stability change with that?
Not sure, maybe a little bit.
Right, okay.
Marginal, maybe.
Markedly more stable, but yeah, but that may just be me. Great. Mari, what did you notice with that progression?
For me, after this last one, after coming out of it, it was kind of similar to the constem effect, where your arms float out.
Similar to what, sorry?
I think it's called the constem effect.
Oh yeah, where you press your arms onto the wall.
Yeah, and your arms just float out. It felt very similar to that kind of lightness. That's really interesting. And I felt relatively stable on it from the start, but including the straw made me feel more stable. And then this with the elbows made it just that much more stable. But the thing for me that's not stable is my ankle. Even though I feel relatively toned and stable in my body, my ankle is still wobbling. Much less so with the last one, but still I get so much wobble in the ankle.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting the way, and it's interesting you had the same as me, toning this bit helps the ankles.
Yeah, it did slightly make it a little bit more stable and help me to find the balance on my foot a bit more. But I don't know why that instability is in there still after all this time.
Yes, yeah, my left ankle sort of comes and goes from being more or less stable, and I think it was a bit wobbly again today. The right side is always stable, but the left side, it's, you know, we're going through rebalancing all the time, aren't we? Bodies aren't static. And, you know, if there's which side of you closes down if things get a bit tough? Is it the left side? If it's the left ankle that's weaker?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, and it certainly is for me because I'm left-handed. The minute things get a little bit sort of stressy, that side closes in, and then there's it reflected in the ankle, which is possibly, I'm thinking this out as I'm thinking, why opening the elbows actually increases the stability, because it must be bringing in the whole of that lateral line, as well as making it easier to access the midline. It's keep observing it.
Yeah. I did find this really helpful with the arms though, and the elbows going away.
It's a great move, this one.
In that position, yeah, and then in this position going that way away. I never really thought about it in this direction.
Yes, absolutely. But this one is a sort of a quick toner. One can't always do plank, but one can usually find a wall. It's a sort of a quick arm tone. That because it's got the pressure on it there, it's sort of, you know, doing it on the thighs is good, but doing it on a wall just wakes up this connection, yeah, without the strain of a full press up. Okay, let's take it into a side bend and see what happens if we do a side bend with this arm tone. So if we, because again, a lot of people, when they do a side bend, they do it in sort of in a bit of a floppy way. So if we bring one arm up and then go off to the side, people sort of often be a bit sort of droopy on it. And of course, so let's suppose that by thinking a hip lift. So we keep, like, even though this side is being contracted or is being shortened, we can still think about lengthening down from this side. And then from the arm, let's also just continue to think not just the hand leading the movement that one might do, but actually think of that elbow coming up away from the ribs at the back of the armpit and the sternum as well, and then see what happens. So down in the hip and up the elbow going away. Go into the side bend.
So this side is doing the...
Yes, we don't want it to be saggy, you see. So if I think about lengthening it, I might not get as dramatic a bend, but I get a stronger movement. There is a sort of a weak floppy movement. There's a stronger movement. What do you notice? Keep breathing into the hips. And up. The other way. And again, play around. What happens if I lead just with the hand and don't stabilize anything? I get a sort of a nice flowing movement. But if I lead from, if I keep that hip engaging, think about the elbow being toned as well as the hand. What's the difference? The first way again, do it in your own time. Any comment on that one?
I've always, ever since I started, Alexander, I've been reluctant to do this because of that shortening on the side.
Yeah.
But it's a better way.
Yes, absolutely.
Because sometimes you want to lengthen one side or do something with a lengthening one side, and it's always been kind of a mystery to me how to keep the opening on the other side.
Yeah.
But there is some shortening, no?
Well, then, of course. Of course there is, but you just turn that off. Yes. Yes, there is some shortening, of course there is. But, and we can't go through life never shortening. What we want to do, to me, is to make sure that when we shorten in the most lengthened way. It's like when we do a forward bend. I mean, one doesn't just sort of crunch, one comes up and over. So there is shortening down the front, but it's extending at the same time. And that's what we're doing here. So we are shortening, but we're making sure that we're not crunching.
It makes me think of Tim's research with the twister, with the spiral, that he talks about one side is lengthening, one side is shortening.
Yes.
But it's adapting.
Yes. And that's what we want. I mean, if you've got, you know, I think in Tai Chi and what did I read? Various things I've read about this, or that one leg is stabilizing and is working with external. I think it's the Pinot stuff. One leg will be working with external torque and stabilizing. The other will be working with internal torque and mobilizing. I've probably got that. I could have that the wrong way around, but you know, one leg is doing a lengthening, one leg's doing the other thing. There's always this exchange between the sides. Yeah. Do you have a take on that, Claire?
I don't know about that, but the movements is yeah, very different. Yeah, she's much more whole body, and I can go a lot further, I think,
Yeah.
with using this.
Yeah.
It's much more stable,
Yeah.
much more bend, much more whole body. All right, much better.
Good. So let's play a game again of flow versus stiffness. So if I do a simple dance step, which is just side to side, side to side. Can you just do that? Side to side, and the hand goes out, side to side, and the hand goes out. And then we could even do side to side, and the hand comes up and over, side to side, side to side, yeah, side to side. So if you did it as just a flow move, it might be side to side, and then you'd sort of want to, if it was sort of slightly untoned, you might sort of follow through like that, because if the arm goes too far over, you need to do something to catch it. So how would you stabilize and not let that happen? Because you can use, you know, you can use the body gravity for a nice flowing movement, but it's the opposite of what we're trying to do, in that you start involving too many degrees of freedom, I think. So if we want to stop the action dead, just think about the elbow and the iliac, side to side, side to side. And now you can and then go back to just thinking about the hand, and feel it doesn't have the same, you don't have the same control if you think about the hand leading, and if you add in the thought of the elbow and the iliac. And you know, when you see those dance routines that go with pop songs nowadays, and they involve incredible numbers of fast actions that are huge and very precise. And there must be quite a strain on the joints. But do you know the sort of dances I mean? Sort of dances you get in a pop video, in musical videos. So yes, you do. You haven't watched the Eurovision Song Contest recently. But do you know what I mean, Mary? The actions are much bigger and faster and more dramatic, and yet they're so fast. So they must have incredible stability to be able to stop an action, and then if I try and imitate them, I have too many degrees of freedom going on. So I think, you know, again, there's this. People have said to me, "Oh, this is too stiff for dance," but I don't think it is. You know, if one is to do a fast, furious dance, you've got to have this ability to stop as well as to flow. I'll just play with that a moment. And the elbow, this movement of the elbow is a real stopper. Elbows and iliacs. What do you think?
Not sure I'm getting it. It feels like it might be a stylistic choice, but so I'm not quite sure I'm getting the sense of the stop.
I mean, maybe it is. What do you think, Mari? Are you getting that? I mean, maybe I just made this up.
Now, to me, that relationship of elbow to iliac is really helpful.
Yeah, so you can feel the stop.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't need it in the same way, Claire.
I'm just not quite there yet.
But maybe you could, I mean, you could have flowiness and still have that relationship, elbow and iliac.
That's what I'm saying. You can use you can have a flow and then you can stop it because you're still with the elbows. You haven't just come into the hands, which then would take you into much more of a flowing movement, but it loses some of the tone if you just think hands. That's my sense. Claire, you getting this?
Don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure.
I mean, it's probably as relevant for something like tennis. I don't know. It's so many years since I played tennis. But if you wanted to stop going in one direction and start going in another direction, again, you've got to be able to stop and change direction.
I guess the thing it prevents is that one.
Yes, yes, that's
Get
that
lost
really
somehow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That somehow.
yeah. So again, if one stops, that's it. Yeah, that's a difference, isn't it? Yeah. Add in the awareness of the elbows. Yeah. Can you see? Can you feel the stability in that, or did you just feel stiff?
Sorry for me.
Like, can you feel the extra stability in that, or does it just feel stiff?
No, it doesn't feel stiff. I'm just thinking of like a turn. Might be helpful. Yeah.
Elbows and iliacs. Elbows and iliacs. Yeah. Feet are too sticky to turn today. Okay, let's do another press up. Now this one's going to be on the floor. So well modified. So the easiest version. We're going to work from all fours. And anyone who's got stronger arms than me can work with feet further out, but we're going to have the fingers pointing forwards. I'll come back, so I think I'm fully in the camera. Am I fully in the camera there? I think
Yeah.
Yep. And they spread wide, and the thumbs pointing in. And elbows rotated back. What happens when the elbows rotate back? Does that help engage the arm lines? So we're thinking that all those arm lines, that we've got the outer arm line, of course, from the little finger up through the iliac, through the elbow across the back, down the other side, and then the front one from the thumb up to the pectoralis and across the inside of the chest. We've got our two arm lines, and lift your, if you want, lift the heels up behind you, and you can cross them over or not, and then engage your core as well. And then the way we're going to do this is do the press up on the in breath with a nice stabilized breath, breathing in, and then do quite a sharp, now I've exaggerated it, but do quite a sharp exhale to take you up again. You can take the arms as wide as you need, and keeping those elbows in. What we're looking for is a sense of the triceps. I'll exaggerate the in-breath, the out-breath first. In-breath to bend the arms. Out-breath, only go as far as you're comfortable. If you can get your chest to the floor, do. And if you can't, just take them as far as you can. I have to watch this elbow. So again, keep engaging the arm lines. And as the arms bend, still there's this sense of hands into the floor, elbows away from back of the armpit and away from sternum. The out breath is you're pressing the hands into the floor. Send yourself up again. How's that looking? And anyone who's fully fit, of course, can take their legs further back. The further you take the legs back, the stronger an action you get. And the super fit, of course, can go into the full plank. There, keep the ribs back, and so that the backs are a little saggy. Keep those ribs back, and that's it. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, I can really see the backs of your arms working. A little bit. That's it. That's right, supporting everything, keeping the core engaged, keeping the iliacs back, the ribs back, the arm lines engaged, and we're taking the chest towards it, and stop when you've had enough. So. Yeah. Good, and now you've got the elbows. So how's the elbows there, Claire?
Well, I've only just been playing recently with keeping my elbows in, because my tendency would be to do at the back.
Yes, yes, and that's certainly what I worked with to start with when I was doing press ups, because of opening the back line. But what do you find now when you keep the elbows in?
With our elbows in, it definitely works triceps more.
The triceps more, doesn't it? But can you still get the sense that the triceps are coming out of the back?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think what we want to watch, and something that Green Bunnies probably won't, they're so busy getting the triceps working that they won't be concerned about them linking. Whereas for us, if they're not linking, we're missing the point. So I think it does take a while to find that linkage of the triceps into the back at this angle. If you feel you can find that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to lose, I find.
It's easy to lose, isn't it?
And then it collapses through the back.
Yes, that's right. Whereas if one just keeps it all nice and firm.
Mm-hmm.
And the further you take the legs back, of course, the more work you're doing. So don't take the legs back until you're ready for it. And keep them in as close as you need for the moment. Yeah. Oh, the other thing I forgot to say was see if you can get the pressure into the first finger knuckle and the thumb, because that also, again, I think helps the inner arm line to work as well as the outer arm line. I'm not sure my form is brilliant on this one yet.
I was about to say the same thing. I think my tendency after a while as well is to creep back.
To pull back.
So creep back this way so that the weight is not more forward.
Yes, one wants to keep the weight over the arms apparently. So yes, I need to set myself a little daily press up on this one, I think, to get this better. But it's an interesting move, isn't it? It's easier than your standard press up. How are you finding that elbow rotation in, Mary? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I've thought about this in relation to doing the press up on the wall.
Yeah.
The elbows coming out or coming down. And I wondered if that's useful to keep the elbows coming down on the wall.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I wonder if there really is a wrong answer in that you're simply engaging different muscles if one does it different ways. Let's try it with the elbows out and see what happens. Well, the first thing I notice is I can't go as far with the elbows in.
It seems easier with elbows out.
Yeah.
But I've also become very accustomed to this idea of elbows out. So it's easier than this.
They're probably just engaging different muscle groups. Probably worth doing both, I suppose.
I think most of the fitness people I've noticed have elbows in.
They do, because that gets more pure tricep movement. My revelation of that was, again, when I was in the autumn, when I was probably overdoing it in my arms, but I was doing some press-ups every day against the car, which is quite a nice height and had a nice rounded surface for my hands. And suddenly I got the whole back doing the press-up. It was a sense my arms weren't doing anything, that the whole back was actually doing the work. And I haven't quite found my way back to that yet. But, and I had got my elbows in. So I think there's something to be discovered here. That, again, I've not got enough of the right things joining up here to find, or I find it at odd moments and then lose it. So I think there's more that we don't know, I suspect, on this one. There's another press up, just to play the game of the press ups game, which is called the Archer. And for this one, I'll do it over here. I think we'll get a better view. You spread your hands. So you have it's the same basic position, but you put your hands as wide as you can comfortably manage. Again, so we've got the, you're as much over the arms as you can, engaging the core, engaging the everything, and then you go one side and then the other side. So the elbow on this one is coming out.
Are you just on your knees?
Sorry, and I'm on my knees again. Yeah. So, so again, the further back the knees are, the more strain, and the further out the arms are, the harder. But for me, there's more engagement into the back on this one because we're used to finding the back engagement. And then keep the ribs back, keep the ribs at the back of the armpit back.
And do the hands face forwards? Or are they slightly turned out?
I think you can turn them out. Yeah, I think they want to be slightly turned out on this.
To me, it seems more integrated if I keep them the same way with the index finger pointing forward.
You prefer that?
Yeah, because then you get the ulnar deviation, and if it's turned out, it's this weird press. It's this weird closing of the wrist.
Lovely. Let's have a look at that. Yes, you're right. What do you think about the wrists, Claire? Is it better to have the index forward or the...
It feels easier for me to be slightly turned out. I feel like I have more sort of that movement. The elbow to come sort of straight, whereas something, some kind of rotation has happened. I've got my plank. Yeah, it has to be more like this. That movement has happened. I don't know. A puzzle.
Let's take this into the kick-ups that we did the other day. Where again, there's the preparation, the handstand, technically, and the goal in handstand is to have the shoulders, the arms are vertical. Again, we're starting from this position with the hands, fingers face forward, and the weight as much as possible into the knuckles, and the core engaged. And so you're then just doing, and again, you need to hold the legs toned. It's drawing up with the psoas on the inside, drawing up the core to bring you into action, drawing it up. That's it. So you're drawing up on the inside. That's it. That's lovely. And starting more over the shoulders if you can. That's it. You're really starting with the arms already vertical and the shoulders engaged up, the arms engaged up into the shoulder sockets. And try both legs, kicking up on both legs. How are you finding this, Marie?
I'm not sure if I'm doing it right.
Yes, well, that's what I'm wondering. That's it. So one leg forward, that's it, one leg back, and then finding that up engaged in the psoas and see if you can let the back leg kick up. That's it. You don't have to change legs in the air. You can land on the, you're changing legs in the air. That's the odd thing you're doing. Come down on the foot so your right leg now is bent. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Psoas back and up. Yeah, Chris, yours is, yeah, Claire, yours is beautiful. So again, get as far over the front leg as you want to get as far over the front as I can. See how my other leg is doing at the moment. So it doesn't have to be a very big movement. We want it to be sort of, again, tidy and sharp, and that's it. That's it.
It seems like there's sort of two ways of doing it where you can get the sort of iliacs back to bring the legs up.
Yes.
It's a bit of leg momentum to get you up.
Yes, and that's what we're working with, isn't it? Because I mean, certainly as a kid, I would have just done the leg momentum, but it's a little bit floppy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Get the psoas and the iliacs involved, it becomes a much neater, tauter movement.
Yeah.
Already is engaging the core, ready for actually being on the arms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting, trying it on both at once.
Yeah, I quite like that.
Yes. Do we have a go at headstand from there? See if I don't know how my headstand will be doing today, but the so one can have the hands like that, put the head on a pad of some sort as well if you want. But again, the object is to draw up from the core, not by kicking up at all, but just by drawing up, drawing up, drawing up, and see if one can draw up to straight. Put it against a wall if you're not certain. That's it. So don't feel the need, you need to extend your head, your legs right up. I mean, if you just get up into a crouch, that's enough if you're uncertain. That's it. So drawing in, drawing up that iliac, drawing up the psoas. I used to be able to do, on a good day, I can do them with straight legs, but not today. So you can actually just draw up the legs. But it's easier to start with to draw them up in bent. That's it. Drawing them up from the inside. The movement comes from the inside. That's it, Mari. The movement comes from the inside. That's it. Yes. Yes, that's right. Keep that internal engagement going. That's it. Keep the internal engagement going. Keep the elbows going away from the ribs at the back of the armpit and away from the sternum. Lovely. That was beautiful. Yeah. That's it, Mari. Thinking it from the inside, from the inside. Yeah. That's it. And elbows away from ribs at back of armpit as well. That's it. That's lovely. Don't go higher than you feel safe. That's it. That's beautiful. Yeah, you need that. You need a bigger base. Yes, to do it with the arms like that, you're really using that of the shoulder to stabilize yourself. There's a lot of trapezius in the stability, isn't there? You do it from the arms. That was lovely, Claire. You got the. I didn't see. Did you? How extended did you get? I was watching Mari.
No, just legs bent. I feel like I need more stability here to really. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Again, it's a lot about that. I started to wobble and I thought, oh yeah, elbows away from the back of the armpits.
Yeah, that was helpful. This away from there.
Yes. Okay, let's finish with some stretches.
Warm now.
Wow, I've never done that before.
Oh, brilliant. Yes. Yes, I learned to do it as a child with straight legs, but I wasn't engaging the core. And then with yoga, I've learned to engage the core of it. Let's come to that one. Are you comfortable in that position? Yeah. What we did in module 9, I think, or module 8, one of those. So just finding that hip laterals down so that the body can extend up. And just staying in that position for a moment and with the arms down or up, whichever suits. Just see if you can find that in-breath right into the pelvic floor and even along the backs of the legs. And then find that the raindrop coming up and out, the atlanto-occipital is the pivot and coming up and around the top of the cheekbone, so that we really do get a very narrow forwards and up in the head that leads the back and up into the arc forwards. And so that the sternum, the sacrum and the pelvis really stays back. We're not looking for a big movement at this point. We're just looking for a slight inclination, and again, just breathe into it. And see if you can find that pelvic floor breath going right into the back of the legs. And if the toes are pointed, the feet are flexed. The in-breath is sending the heels away. Then leading with the forward and up of the head, which takes the iliacs back. Coming forwards only as far as you can keep the alignment. Finding that breath into the legs. Staying here only as long as it's comfortable for you. Going as low as is comfortable. Finding that lengthening of the legs away on the in-breath, the lengthening of the head away, leading the back. Lovely, and when you're ready, coming up again. And now let's find that twist into the left groin. And again, that forwards and up of the head, taking the whole back, back and up, head forward and up, lengthening the spine over the leg. There's no goal to get somewhere. You can hold the foot. Let the in-breath lengthen you up off the leg and the out-breath take you down again. And see if you can let the breath go along the back of the leg on the in-breath. As the back lengthens into a straight line following the head. Thinking of the ribs at the back of the armpit up away from the sacrum on the out-breath, even as the head comes towards the knees. There's a lengthening of the spine. Lengthening of the spine away on the in-breath, following the head. Going up and down a few times with the breath. Back and up in the iliac spines as we go down. And coming out again. Going the other way. Take it at your own speed. Making sure that that little rotation of the head around the center of gravity behind the cheekbone leads the back into extension. The leg lengthening away, particularly on the in-breath. Doesn't matter how close you get to the leg. What matters is to keep the form. And then we'll do the side bend that we did. And again, same principle that we used before, just thinking that iliac, that hip lateral down, the side that we're going towards, and let the elbow be a part of the movement, as well as the hand. And come back up into a line on the in-breath. And then again down on the out-breath, keeping that hip lateral working on the compressed side. Coming out and onto the other side. Then hip lateral down so that we get that extension. Even up the curved side, it's shortening, but yet it's still extending. Coming out of it again and going forwards one more time. Led by the head leading forwards and up out of the atlanto-occipital. That brings the back and up. And the pelvis stays back even as you come forwards. Breath widening. Widening along the legs. And coming up again. Give your legs a shake. You need. And using your active hip folds to draw your legs in and standing up, however works for you. Ah, you can do it. Good. Okay, any comments on those last ones before we finish?
I'm just always amazed at the things that I can do here.
Yeah, your headstand was great. If you've never done that before.
It happens, yeah.
Yeah. You've done some before, Claire, have you?
Yeah, not for a long while though. My yoga teacher reins everything back in quite a lot, so there's lots of preparation.
Oh yeah, the headstands are not standard in our class at all. Every so just more advanced people actually like the headstands. And she rarely does shoulder stands.
Yeah, I haven't done one for a while.
Good. Okay. So done with all that. Any comments? How are you feeling?
Good. Broad.
The heat's been wiping me. I don't know about you. I've been feeling quite sort of floppy. And, yeah, so it feels good to turn.
Yeah, it's very sticky. Yeah, I like the side bend with the in sitting as well. That's really nice. And I think on those side bends, it's also really nice to get the sort of the sacrum to the back armpit working for me as well. That really helps.
Yeah, it makes such a difference, doesn't it? To think that one.
Yeah, yeah, it brings me further forward than I think I need to be. But yeah, prevents any kind of back bendy thing going on, definitely.
I'm always amazed that when I think that sort of going down towards the leg, I get further.
Sorry, I didn't.
It seems to open up the back so that one can get further down towards the leg.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got more forward movement on the in-breath as I thought about the air going out to the legs.
Too.
That was interesting. It was not on the out-breath so much as on the in-breath.
Yes, that back along the legs. It really, again, I don't quite know what it does, but it really frees up the hips, doesn't it, to go another bit forwards.
Yeah, it sort of tones the legs, but at the same time softens them, so you're not kind of working against yourself, I guess.
Yes, no, I love doing this one, and I don't feel I've got it until I've got that breath going there. If the breath isn't there, and it took some years originally to find it. Like, oh yeah, that's what this is about. and it just opens out. And so it's worth doing the work to find that breath.
And same with iliac's back. Like, you know, iliac's back really needs a breath to be right down there too. Otherwise, it's something that's a bit stiff.
Great. Okay. Are you going to be around on the 6th of August when the last class?
I think so.
Good. That's the one.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'll be late again because I have a class that first half hour now. But I'll be here. Oh no, I can't be here that day, I think. No, I won't be able to come.
I hope some of the German crew will be back. You'll be there, Claire.
I think so. I'm away that day, so I should be back in time, hopefully.
And are you up for carrying on in the autumn before it starts again in October? Are you interested in that?
I don't know. I can't quite think that far ahead. I feel like I've only just kind of desperately got to the end of this sort of school year, so I've not quite got my head around September yet.
Principle.
In principle, yes, maybe, yeah.
In principle, I am too. I start school again next month, but it's going to be one of the few things that keeps me moving. So if you do this one again, I'd probably be more likely to continue this than the other one.
Then the other one being
the book club. Yeah, I can't do both. So if you do this, I'll probably stick with this.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good to know. Okie doke. Right. So see you on the. Well, see you whenever.
Great.
Thank you.
Bye for now. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.